To create a new position in HireVue, you simply need to click on this big blue button here that says New Position right above your calendar. Now this is going to take you to the position setup screen, and the first thing you're going to need to do is title this position that you're getting ready to create. Now it's important that you make sure this title matches your job posting. You want to make sure your candidate's comfortable that they know that the interview they're getting ready to take is indeed the one that they've applied for. So in this case, we're just going to label this test. Now to the right-hand side here where it says no due date, this is your opportunity to put an end date or an expiration date on this position. And if you do so, that date will fill in on your calendar on your homepage as we've already talked about, and it also is going to default into the invitation your candidate receives when you invite them to take this interview. And again, no due date just means this position will never expire. And your candidate on the invitation, it's going to say you have 3 business days to finish this interview. However, if you do get a call from your candidate saying it's been 4 days and I really want to take this interview, it actually did not expire. So they can use that original invitation that you sent them. So the next option you have is this Enable OpenView link. OpenView was originally designed as a sourcing tool. So every time you create a position, you're going to get a specific URL link for this position, and you can also get a QR code. Both are great tools for sourcing and for campus recruiting and career fairs. You can put this URL link on LinkedIn or any social media site that you may use. And again, the QR code can be printed on cards, on business cards, on shirts, whatever you like. You can be creative as you'd like to be with this. And all the candidate has to do is click on that URL link or scan the QR code, and they can take this interview that you're getting ready to create. Now the next section here, you get to determine what type of interview you're going to create. For this one, we're going to do an on-demand, but if it was going to be live, you would simply select live. Scoring mode, you have 2 options here. You can do it per candidate, which means you're going to watch the entire interview in its total and then give your candidate an overall recommendation for hire and a score, or you can do it per question, which means as your candidate answers questions, you're going to score them per question or per answer. And I highly recommend you select this one. And as we go through the evaluation process, I'll show you why this one's important. And then lastly, on candidate visibility, you have several options here. The first one is to keep private between you and your administrator, which means all of your candidates and positions will only be able to see by you and your administrator. The next one is to share within my team, which is what you want to do. You're going to only share these candidates in the interviews within your team, which is Next Level Exchange. Now the next section we're coming to is the candidate experience. So once you've invited a candidate to take an interview, they're going to go through the setup process, and then you have the opportunity to show them a video. This is your first chance to really talk to them, tell them about your organization and the position they're applying for, and maybe you even can talk about the process of applying for a job with you. So to add a video is very simple. You simply click on this Add a Video button, and as you add videos, you're going to be adding them to your library. So if you have one video that you use often, that's fine. It'll be here for you anytime. And then to record a video, that's also very simple. You simply click on this Record a Video, and you can simply sit in front of your computer and talk to the camera just like you're talking to your candidate. But in this case, I've already selected this video, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And the process is the same for the closing video, and just know that the video libraries do not mix. So you'll have a library for your closing videos and a library for your opening videos. So let me go ahead and select this one. And now it's time to start adding some questions. You have several different options here to add questions. The one we're going to spend the most time on is New Question. So we're going to be adding a question from scratch. And the first question we're going to ask is one that we probably all ask. Why did you apply for this position? So you have 2 options on the right-hand side. You can add a video for the candidate to respond to. So if you're going to ask more of a customer service type question, you have maybe a customer service training video you'd like to put in here, you can certainly do that. Or you can click on this and you can actually ask the question yourself. You can say, my name is Shannon and I'm your recruiter, and why did you apply for this position? Again, this is another fantastic way to get your candidate really engaged in this process. Now the other option is to add a photo to the question. So say for instance, you may want to put up an Excel sheet, and if you're hiring maybe an analyst, you can say, what do you see trending on this Excel sheet? So another great way to use this tool. Now the other option is right over here to the left-hand side. If I click on this, I can actually insert a link into the question. And why this is a neat option is if you're hiring maybe like a web designer, you can put in a link and you can ask the web designer to go out there and check out that link and ask how they would design that page differently. It opens up a new page in the browser as well, so they won't lose their place in the interview. Now you also have several different options for candidate response. You can have an essay response, multiple choice, and multiple selection. I'm going to talk about those three here in just a moment. But for this one, we're going to do a video response. Now, the prep time is totally configurable, so you can make this be whatever you want it to be. The prep time is that time that the candidate has to read the question and formulate an answer. Now, if you prefer not to give them a limited amount of prep time, you can simply click on no limit here, and then they can take all the time in the world. We recommend you keep it as the default is 30 seconds though. On the right hand side here is the response time. So this is how much time your candidate has to respond to the question. We find that most candidates answer questions within 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. So a default of 3 minutes is totally adequate. So if we like how this position, or excuse me, how this question is set up, I'm going to go ahead and click save and add another, because we will be adding another question. So I'm going to go back up to the top and add another question from scratch. So this question is going to be, what days of the week can you work? So down here, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this multiple selection and multiple choice, okay? So what you're going to do here is give your candidates a bank of answers they have to pick from. So I'm just going to abbreviate and do Monday, Tuesday. You can add as many as you'd like to simply by clicking the add option button here. So I'll do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Being that this is multiple choice, your candidate has to pick one of these answers, and you can even define the correct answer if you like. So we'll say the correct answer here is Tuesday. And if you look over to the response time, it defaults in at no time limit on multiple choice and multiple selections. Most people leave it like this, but if you wanted to put a response time limit on here, simply unclick that, and you can make this be whatever you want it to be. Now the other option I mentioned was multiple selection. So the difference between the two is you're going to give your candidate the same bank of answers to pick from, but they can pick multiple answers, not just one. So we'll say we're finished with this question. We're going to save and add another, and we'll do one more. So this next question will say, give us your best tweet. Okay, so for this one, as I said, we're going to do an essay response. And we're going to limit the characters that your candidates have to reply to. So obviously with Twitter, it's going to have to be limited to 140 characters. Now another option we have here is to default text in. So what's so important about defaulting text in is that you can have text, say maybe a writing sample or some kind of executive letter, and you want this person to either correct it or maybe add to it. This is a perfect way to do it. So it's a great way for maybe an administrative assistant type position to really see what the writing skills are and the editing skills of that person. And then over on the right hand side, again, on essay questions, it does default in as a no time limit on response time, but you can always change that if you'd like to. So that's all the questions I'm going to add for this position, so I'm going to click Save. Okay, so I've just clicked Save. Now, a couple of things here that are really fun. First of all, if you like your questions, but maybe you don't like the order, you can simply move them around. It's very simple to change that. Okay, so the other thing in HireVue, remember that anytime you see a pencil, that means you can edit whatever's next to it. In this case, I can edit this question. For instance, if I see a typo, it would be very simple to fix. And then anytime you see an X in HireVue, if you click it, it'll delete it. Now, let's say that we like the order and we're feeling pretty comfortable about this, so I'm going to save this question template, so if I'd like to use it again, I don't have to recreate the wheel. So we'll say this is a test template 8, and I'm going to save that. So now if I went back over here to add questions, if you see this second one, it says from a question template. So if I clicked on that, there is my question template that I just saved. Okay, now the third option was to pick a question or pick questions from a previous position. So if I click here, it's going to list all the positions that I've created. I can simply select one and then add the questions, which I'll do. So now what you can see is I have another 3 questions from the previous position. Now just because we've added these questions, that doesn't mean we cannot edit them, because we can. Because if you notice, we have our edit pencil here. So I could easily go in and change anything I need to about these questions, and then I can save that as a template too. So, but I'm going to go ahead and delete these. So now that I'm finished with this position, I've got my intro and closing videos in, I have my questions in, I'm going to go ahead and save it. So on this next screen, you have several options. The first thing I want to show you is the QR code. So if I click on the share button and go to QR code, this is that code I was talking about. All you'd have to do is download this, and then from there you can print it on whatever you'd like to. You can also set up schedule reminders for this position. So if I clicked on schedule reminders, I'm going to go ahead and send them out starting on the date that you can select whatever date you want. It defaults in the date that you create this. And down here, anything in a box is configurable. So we're going to have our schedule reminders repeat every 3 days, and the candidate's going to receive a maximum of 2 reminders, and they will not receive a reminder if it's been less than 2 days since the original invitation. And again, all of this is totally configurable, so you can make it be whatever you want it to be, and you do these reminders per position. So why that's important is because if you see down here, it says custom message for reminder. So what you can do is say, hi, my name is Shannon. I'm your recruiter for this position of test, and we can't wait to see your video. It's, again, another great way to get your candidate engaged and make sure that they do take their interview that you'd like them to. And schedule reminders is something that you can set up at a later date. So again, if this is something you forget to do at the position setup, you can always come back later. Okay, so it's time to invite candidates to take our position. Now we have 2 options here. You can upload candidates in bulk, which means all you have to do is put your candidates on an Excel spreadsheet, and it needs to look just like this. You have to have the headers as first, last, email, and you have to have a header as a phone number, but you do not need to add the phone number, just need to have the header there. And you can do up to 1,000 candidates at one time by doing it this way. And once you have your Excel spreadsheet in place, simply save it as a CSV file, and then you can upload it. Now your other option is to invite candidates one by one, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to click on this blue button here that says Add Candidates. I'm going to put in our candidate's name. And again, all you need is the first name, last name, and email address. You have the option of adding a phone number, website, or any other documents. If you want to add a resume, cover letter, of anything of that nature, you can do it here. So this is the only candidate we're going to add. So I'm going to simply select Save here. And now we're just going to wait for our candidate to take our interview.